time 39 degrees, cloudy skies. It's AM 650 KGAB Radio. My name is Glenn Woods. Sitting in the studio with me is Mayor Orr, and we had agreed that this time it's all completely Doug's fault, not mine for once.
Good morning.
So we're settled on that. Morning. So, okay, here's what happened. Doug, of course, watches everything. So any move that an official makes, he sees it. Okay. And you had put a couple of tweets up there. And so Doug went ahead and took those tweets and put them on a news story. I saw them and just like I always do, oh, Doug posted a story, share that. And then I asked you a question that I'm sorry, you had invited another mayor to Cheyenne. And I was with other people. I didn't understand why. It wasn't clear to me in the tweets. Well, of course, things have to explode after that. So from your point of view, what happened here? What's going on?
Well, so Mayor Pete is, of course, as you mentioned, he's a fellow mayor of mine. I met him briefly. I find him very intelligent.
Okay.
And it so happened that his announcement for president was right after the Masters. And so I happened to tune in. And he called out Wyoming during his announcement for U.S. president in his abolishment, in his statement that he wants to do away with the Electoral College.
Okay.
And so, man, I thought, okay, come on out here. Usually we're a flyover state, fly on in. Come see us, because I am very much in support of the Electoral College, and I think abolishing it would really harm our state.
Okay, so you would want to explain that to him as to why we have it and show him the state of Wyoming.
Absolutely. Come see us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any response from that?
No, not yet. But, it was a tweet out at him.
Right.
Or, obviously his staff, more or less. But that doesn't mean that he won't maybe follow up when he's
that would be nice.
looking
Okay,
around.
because part of the confusion was why would a Republican mayor invite a Democrat socialist, as people say, out to the state of Wyoming for what possible reason? And some people basically think that you're a socialist at this point.
Well, absolutely. And God forbid that we have any discussion about any ideas that aren't in line with our own. But that was.
So you invited him out for the discussion.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, there was also a response that you thought that Doug was just sloppy reporting until you posted that on your Facebook page, which Doug, to his credit, grabbed and said, okay, she thinks we're sloppy.
He did. Yeah. And, I'll be honest. It makes for great headlines, and it certainly gets your listenership up and your viewers going. So you guys are good at getting them wound up.
Well, yeah, but I think what he did, though, in his defense, was he took your tweets and just reposted them and said, "Here's what she said."
Right.
Should he had called you first?
Well, I think you have said yourself, rather than just taking something and running with it, rather than maybe stepping back, talking to folks, giving me a call, getting the whole story. Okay. I think that there's more to a story than a 140-character
All right.
tweet.
Now, so by the way, how do you pronounce this mayor's last name? I'm afraid.
Oh, Buttigieg.
Buttigieg.
It's
okay,
it's
because
different.
It looks more like butt something.
I know.
Yeah, just Buttigieg is his last name. I wasn't even going to go there. Okay, so should he come here, exactly what would you tell him about the Electoral College? How would you explain Wyoming and why we need it?
Well, I would explain our certainly our population and lack of, and the fact that much of our land is federally owned, which certainly has a place of why our population is so low. But I think that it would be just a really good discussion for him as well as our congressional representatives to have.
Okay. I would also bring up to him, because at some point if he's running, you would hope that he would pay attention to the state. But here's where I think you got him. If while he's running, he doesn't pay a visit to Wyoming, then send him a note and saying, you see, that is why we need the Electoral College.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we don't want to be ignored.
For him to mention a state in his presidential announcement and then for him not to visit it is telling.
Right. And then for you to say to him, I will not be ignored, brings back a certain psycho-type movie. And here's a woman mayor saying this to him. That would kind of freak him out. But also to bring up Colorado, they voted on their electoral college that however the national popular vote goes is where their electors go, which will be a big problem if Trump wins the popular vote, because that means all those Democrats just voted for Trump. I think that'll freak him out.
I think so, too.
Okay. Now, to settle the other thing, because you had posted this today as well, because, again, it explodes. People start to say all sorts of things. Presidential election, who did you vote for?
Trump.
Okay. So for those people who are wondering about that, you voted for Trump in the last presidential election.
Did.
This is Glenn, who's on the phone.
Hi, Glenn. This is Micah.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mayor Orr. My concern wasn't so much that you invited him or anything, and I think I got the impression reading comments, too, that an awful lot of people were on the same page as I am on this. I think where we got really hung up was where it said that you, if in fact you were even quoted right, that you would actually host him. And I think for everybody, being the host means that you put them up, you pay for their hotel, you pay for their dinners, all this kind of stuff.
By you, you mean, are we the taxpayers doing it, or is Mary?
Yeah. So, because that's where I kind of got like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, thank you, my guy. I really appreciate that comment. No, absolutely not would taxpayer dollars be used on anything like that. And when I talk host, I meant come to my home. I'll make you dinner. I've got a guest room.
Okay. And you would think if he's running the presidential campaign and has raised some money, again, please pay attention to this. Please do this for me, if anything. If he does not come to Wyoming, you have made your point on the Electoral College.
Absolutely.
And you can nail him on that. And I'd love to see if he gets a response to you anyway on this. But you can just nail him on that one. And that would settle for so many people the Electoral College argument, because states like us would just flat out be ignored. We would have no part in the presidential election.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I appreciate being able to clarify a term host as far as what that would be. I like a good old-fashioned Wyoming. Hey, I'll cook up a steak on my own dime.
That's right, yeah. Okay. In the South where I grew up, it'd be a front porch sweet tea.
Oh, there